everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Around the Realm. I am joined with the amazing Ryan Colt Levy. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for coming
Hi.
back.
Thank you for having me.
uh, the pleasure is all mine. Um, I guess to start digging into questions, do you have anything specific that you do to prep for another episode?
Normally I I like to break into a cold sweat and hyperventilate and panic for like about 5 minutes. And then scramble through all the technology and make sure that I have that all connected because that was all very new to me. And then I would be like, all right, the dice, oh right, this thing. And then I would kind of do that. And then I would just hope for the best because I had no bleeping clue what I was doing most of the time.
Ah, yes.
Um, yeah, a lot of it was like preparation. Like I would read up on all the stuff and try and do whatever I could, and then I felt like the second I would start to get ready for the episode, I just forget everything and just freak out.
Yep, yep. Okay, so yeah, real chill, laid back routine. Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, that's me, just super. Yeah, yeah.
I feel like the hardest thing when I'm just looking at this and thinking, how would I function as a player? I wouldn't. But I don't know how you all like, do you, I don't know, like some people keep a log sometimes, like, because sometimes when,
Well, that's the smart thing to do. See,
yeah.
like those are like those are the things that theoretically I should have done, instead of just scream at my wall or something like that. Yeah.
Because it's so interesting. I never even considered this about like, um, what you know as yourself doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily mean that you as your character knows. Like when things like when they have you guys going on like separate rooms or something like that, you as yourself know what was going on in the other room, but you
Right.
as Gizmo don't. And I'm just like, oh, that's really hard to keep track of like what you know and what you don't know.
I think what I loved about it was being able to do that part of the actor nerdy part where you're like, oh, okay, that's the freeing element of it, is suddenly I'm this character.
Hmm.
But again, then going back to the me not being entirely confident on what my limitations were and the space I could, like, how far I could stretch things. I think I was always kind of living in both mindsets. And I would love to be able to further, like, really just explore losing myself in the character the next time I get to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like what I love especially about Realms and Roleplay is almost like is because of the fact that people like I mean there were other folks that I've talked to a part of the cast as well, like the Rissa said that she was really nervous because she hasn't done this before, like a full-fledged
She
like
was
full
so
on.
good. She's so good.
She was amazing.
Also,
um
one of the funniest people, I think,
oh
that
my God, yes.
just constantly, like, effortlessly funny. We would just be crying laughing sometimes.
Oh, yeah, it's so funny because I met Ruby before I met Larissa, and like Ruby, like the first episode, she comes
Oh,
in, she's
that's
like
amazing.
yelling, she's like,
Just no, yeah, no nonsense. Yeah, because the character's so different from her personality. She's
yes,
like, and then you meet her and she's so bubbly and sweet and just so silly, like in the best, I cannot stress, in the best of ways, the silliest.
I also love just like the dry quips, like the humor that we get from Raven.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh my
funny.
God.
Oh,
Ash too, like, I feel like was the like the secret weapon, because we never it was like, when there's like a cat in the room and everyone's like, what's gonna happen? Like,
yes.
you couldn't tell what was going to happen with that character and what would come out of her mouth. And it was so great. I loved
Oh
it so
God.
much.
Raven was just so funny.
That was like, have you ever seen It's Always Sunny?
Yes.
The concept, like, wild card, to me,
Yes.
that's the ultimate. Raven was the wild card.
Yes, definitely. Um, I mean, just like watching all of you play, and I mean, sometimes the fact that, like other people are like, I don't know what I'm doing, which it makes it more like when I watch other tabletop games, I kind of feel like I'm watching. Like, like people know everything so well, they're off the bat. They're like this, and this. But I love how like all of you guys like collectively helped each other as a group. And it makes me feel like I'm at the table as
Oh,
opposed to like,
interesting.
yeah, it's like it's such a refreshing, it kind of makes it refreshing.
I mean, that makes me feel a lot better about
Oh
it because
yeah.
I was really self-conscious of, I was thinking quite the opposite where, to my understanding, I've never seen an episode of uh Critical Role, but I've heard, the fervor around it, and I know how incredibly like professional like looking it's becoming, the whole like thing, and I thought that's what people kind of were just like, it's either that or nothing. And I thought they were expecting like, at least that kind of awareness or commitment. And I'm like, they're going to see me fumbling through this thing. And I didn't consider that because you're right. Like, I inherently love watching people grow and learn and discover and
Hmm.
collaborate. So, I've always felt like, I mean, I guess it's a very human thing, right? It's like you love other people's flaws, but you hate your own.
Yeah.
And, it really is that thing that you forget how much people love being inside the process of you figuring it out, and they feel closer to you. So yeah, that's
Definitely.
cool.
Like, especially as a person like new, like I did not watch like D20 or Critical Role or anything before, but when I got the job, I heard tabletop and I was like, okay, well, I kind of need to know at least a little
Understand.
something
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
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 and like
yeah.
I don't know, I just felt there was like little inside jokes and everything that was like seemed very just like as a new person approaching it, they seemed like they knew everything and all that. And when I watched Realms and Roleplay, I was like, okay, this is a lot more refreshing because you're all just helping each other out as friends, and it feels a lot more welcoming.
Yeah, it's I think, in the way that within the game it became a found family, I think we also became a found family. And I'm hopeful that maybe that also resonates while watching it. You
Oh
get
yeah.
this sense of just, community, and all of us kind of like there was to contrast, saying how afraid I was and everything, I also inherently knew that the whole thing was a trust fall, and that each of us in whatever way possible were going to be there to catch each other,
Hmm.
instead of like chastising each other for like, being sloppy in the process or whatever it was, or we really were just all there for each other to like learn and grow and fail and flounder and laugh, and
Yes, and I love how we can see like how close this group like gets and everything because in season 1 we started off with our main group already as friends, like they're already close tight-knit friends. They'd already, they all started as a collective group. And what also makes Carmen so much of a genius as well is like how he like intertwined all of your stories for you all to meet like at episode 1, like how everything happened and how like they were all close but they weren't friends, like there were like Sid and Gizmo knew each other and
there was
Ruby
a
and
there you
Zigzag,
could
yeah.
you could do the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I just love how now that we're on episode 11, we're seeing everybody be like really close knit and like almost like a family now, and it's just really nice to see it under like a nice family in like this dark situation as opposed to, I mean, don't get me wrong, Sovereign of Death was dark, hence the name, but I just felt like it had like a little bit of a lighter, I don't know, like a lighter world to it in the sense, minus, like the dragons and like the
Well, I mean,
army
that's why, like,
skeletons.
when you asked me, in the previous episode about what world I
Yeah.
prefer to be in, I think that's ultimately like, I think there's inherent like dourness to the cyberpunk landscape that we
Yes.
were living in that space, but the characters created a warmth for each other that I think they weren't able to find outside of that, which was so
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly. And speaking of that, so where do you think Gizmo would be if not with this group? Like, where do you think he would be having not met any of them?
I mean, I think, he really probably just would have continued to like stick close to his sister and probably not do anything all too exciting. I think he would have probably, you know, I think he kind of liked being isolated, and I think their routine, they were already in a kind of hiding.
Yeah.
And I think that, his sister kind of respected his personality and energy, and she was in too much of her own compromised kind of position to even like really put anything on him anyway, or force him to like think outside of that current mental state. And I don't know that if the other characters hadn't come along to kind of pull him out of that, I don't know that he would have had the chance to grow and become the person that he became through that. I think that they kind of, in a weird way, um kind of saved him and kind of, enhanced him as a person. I really think he
Definitely.
kind of would have, it's like, a stick in the mud. He would have just kind of stayed.
Now, was the idea like was Gizmo's sister Priya, was that your idea? Like, did you want Gizmo to have a sister, or did Carmen just kind of throw that in there?
I genuinely can't remember. And that's the theme of like, this is how long ago it was. I can't remember who came up with it first, but I think we inherently knew that there needed to be more of a reason for him to want to stay where he was and kind of
Mm,
hunker down instead of it just being him. Because I think if it was
yeah.
just him,
Yeah.
I think he would have wandered around. I don't necessarily think he would have given enough of a crap about, like, having his own space. I think he kind of would have just gone where the wind, took
Yeah.
him. So I think we felt like it created a purpose for his character when you first meet him, to get a sense of like his loyalty, his resolve, his stubbornness. It kind of, a lot of things, get kind of built up around, how much her story and uh character development in itself, even without doing very much, how much she kind of affects his entire personality.
Definitely. Um, so did you ever have any other intentions when making Gizmo? Did you ever think of like, did you ever have like other alternate thoughts and then you're like, I'm gonna go with this? Or is this like kind of what you wanted? You just knew.
Yeah, no, I think at first I probably thought he was going to be younger. I think I maybe,
Oh,
like,
really?
was making a different kind of, more like, I think at first, you like, you get the whole, you get the template and you look at all this stuff and you're like, it's cool, it's cyberpunk, like, and I'm thinking like, I'm going to be this young, cool. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, it's actually really fun to play like an older, kind of more grizzled, spent,
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
character that, like, because I've always loved, I mean, like a Joel in The Last of Us or something like that. There
Yes.
was a sense of, which also I think kind of played into this character. I think that kind of archetype, which I never got to really explore before, just felt like, oh, that's what this guy could be. And also it felt like everybody else in the crew, like, everybody had such interesting and unique, kind of colorful characters, and I thought it would be fun to have a character that was like kind of ostensibly gray,
Yeah.
like really, like just kind of dour and like dry, and I thought that would be fun.
Definitely. So Gizmo, I mentioned in our last episode, had a robot friend, but now since we're on episode 11, you've named him and you named him Charles. So why did you name Gizmo's robot friend Charles?
I've always loved the idea of having like a little critter and giving it a very like normal, casual name. There's just something about that that always made me laugh. And it was just, I think it was just the first thing that popped into my head. And I was like, that just feels right. Yeah.
I do the exact same thing. My camera is named, my DSLR is named Jerry, and then I have a tree named Larry.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. I love it.
Yep, just give them my absolutely normal
It
names.
makes them feel more, it gives them an instant personality, and
Yeah.
it, gives them a, because I think, I wasn't sure initially, I think when we, created that whole character in that moment, if they actually understood each other or what, or how that was going to play out. But I think it helped kind of like almost imprint a personality in order for Gizmo to utilize it,
Yeah.
even in the first place. And then it kind of grew into this even more special thing.
So when, I mean, obviously now taking a look at the final character design, you've seen Charles. Did you ever have like a different, like, what did you originally think that Charles looked like? Because I was honestly thinking something of like, I don't know, when Carmen described all the robots, he described them as like a Roomba or like BB-8.
Hmm,
So I'm
hmm.
thinking like, is Charles flat like a disc or is Charles kind of like a BB-8?
There was this, this is like a weird deep cut, like, because I definitely imagined kind of like almost like a little disky kind of shape, kind
Yeah.
of thing. But there was a Ninja Turtles cartoon when I was a kid in the 90s, and there were robot like these like snapping robot things on two legs. They like bounced around and they were about like, like that big.
Yeah.
And there was this weird, like in my brain, it was like they almost had like those legs, like these like springy, bouncy robot legs, but it was like this weird little kind of Roomba looking saucer. In my mind at least, But I
Oh
don't
my
even know
God.
if I ever vocalized that. I think it was just, I just kind of,
Just kind of thought it, yeah.
yeah. And I think it had like there was something in the frontal area, like lights or something that like to me had expressions of some sort that was like
Yeah.
they gave it just a way to like I felt like it had a sense of physicality and a sense of something where you know not like in the sense of how like Spider-Man's face would move, but like maybe how
Yeah.
like Wally could like you would understand the
Yes.
emotion.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think I remember something where like it would print shrimp and it like made a green face.
Yeah.
Oh, that life is great.
uh,
So I guess moving on to this is a good one. Okay, so is Gizmo a Caterpillar Soup fan?
oh my god, caterpillar soup, wow. I
Bringing
mean
back memories.
I'd like to think that Gizmo is basically a trash can. It would almost eat anything.
Oh, Caterpillar Soup was the name of Zigzag's band.
It was. Oh my God, that's so funny. Um, I think he was like it was one of those things like I don't necessarily know that he listened too much of any
Yeah.
music or anything like that, but I think it was one of those things where like I don't even remember if we made it a thing or if I just like if I secretly was like, oh yeah, like I heard that on the radio and actually like, it's like where he like reluctantly like finds himself like
Yeah,
tapping
well,
along
like,
to it and
yeah.
like won't like openly admit it. But I think like he was like, oh no, like kid's got talent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot that was the band name. That's so funny.
Oh my God. Yeah, Erin, I had Erin on here and she explained, I was like, because I asked Carmen first, I was like, did you name it? He's like, no, Erin named it. And then I
No,
went to
that's
Erin.
pure, yeah.
It's pure Erin Fusco. So I went to Erin. I was like, well, why is it named Caterpillar Soup? And she was like, well, I was talking to somebody about a caterpillar and then they go in a cocoon and it's like caterpillar soup in there and then they become a butterfly.
Couldn't be more punk rock. I love
Yep,
it. Yeah.
totally punk rock.
Oh my gosh.
So, I guess moving on to another Gizmo question, what do you think Gizmo would do if he got out of a life of crime? Like, what would be some of his goals?
I think, first and foremost, again, it would just go back to his sister because I think he would want to make sure that she's taken care of and, everything with her hopefully eventual child and all of that would be solid and on the up and up. And I think that like I think he has very simple needs for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that he would ultimately find some kind of thing where he could kind of service a local community, like whether it was like, just kind of open up a shop where he could take care of people's stuff on like, the cheap or whatever. Because I feel like he definitely has a sense of he doesn't realize how much he likes being around people and all this stuff. And I think he would want to like, whether it's open up like a shop where he can repair things or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, have you ever seen Parks and Rec?
Oh yeah, totally.
I feel like, I don't know. It's a combination of, like you said, Joel from The Last of Us, and I feel like he almost kind of gives a Ron Swanson
I
vibe in a
was gonna
sense.
say, tell me Ron Swanson. That's
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's that stoic, but there's a warmth underneath that like it's almost like they're too afraid to like be that vulnerable with
Hmm.
with people, but it's all so deeply there and it's also very obviously there. They just
Yeah.
don't realize how obvious it is. And yeah, I mean Ron Swanson, talk about one of the greatest characters of all time.
So funny. I
Yeah,
love Ron
yeah.
Swanson.
But yeah, for sure. I think that's a part of it. Is like will always be there for their people and community and like is inherently good at their core, but kind of needs the encouragement to like
Hmm.
open up a little bit.
All right, so interesting question here. So, what is your favorite meal, and what do you think Gizmo's favorite meal would be if it would be different?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. All right, first off, the limitations of like what the universe that they're living in is would be. So I feel like Gizmo's favorite meal would probably be something noodle based because it would be easy to, procure and work
Hmm.
with a lot. Um, so it would be probably some kind of like, easy pack ramen of some sort. And like he would probably just whatever crude protein that he could like, score up for that week, and then he would ration that out, and whether it was like, meat or seafood or whatever he could find, like it was like, smells fresh enough, I'll
Hmm.
you cook out the whatever, right? For me, I think it's really hard because I love food. I love all kinds of cuisines. That's really difficult. I can give let's say like, right now today,
Hmm.
I think it might be sushi.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Or just, Japanese cuisine in general. But I mean, I love French food, I love Thai food, I love um weird new American food. I love it all, man. Give me
And it's so funny. It's just I love it every time. Like every no matter what stakes or, I think in this episode Ruby was yelling at Gizmo and Sid just saying you're like, "Hey, we're not thinking about shrimp at this hour." And they were thinking about shrimp at this hour. And then
Well, they're
Mylan,
they're like survival, like I think
yeah.
to them it's like it's fuel. It's not even necessarily about like quality. But again, if they're around something that's quality, they're like, well, I'm gonna take advantage. But I think, for them it's like if it's there, you get it while you got it.
Yeah, I was talking to Mylan too about that and about like Sid and Gizmo's whole food obsession, and she was like, "Yeah, food is hard to find in Night City, especially like, unless you're rich, then you've got plenty of food, but if you don't, then you got scrap for it." It was like, "Oh, I don't want to live in Night City. I'll pick you, Sean. I'll magic up some food. I'm good."
Yeah, exactly. Like it's, we've all played Breath of the Wild. We know it's
Yeah.
much easier to cook there.
Yes,
So
yes. Oh my gosh. I actually love like Hyrule Warriors because they don't really, I mean, I don't think I have to cook as much or at all.
see, there you go.
I didn't even want to cook in a video game, so
It's like with fishing in video games. Anytime there's a fishing mini game, I'm like, I'll do it. But
I'll do it, but
yeah,
not with pleasure. So
yeah.
anyways, looks like we'll be getting on to our episode recap.
Heck
So
yeah.
there's a lot that had happened since we had you on for episode 9. So, we left off with the fighting in the park against the undead creatures, and yeah,
Yeah.
that was always fun. See, that's another thing why I don't want to live in Night City. I mean, like I have to do food is hard to find. Undead, count me
Yeah, but
out.
I'm going to assume that undead almost is going to be likely in the other place
Pretty,
too.
yeah.
Just a different
Oh yeah,
capacity,
actually, yes, you're right. There was an army of skeletons, so
Yeah,
they're
there's
like
always an
undead.
army of skeletons in fantasy stuff. Always. You
But
know
they're like
that.
twigs, so I can just like they're
Doesn't mean they
poof.
don't have swords.
That's true. Oh, they did have swords.
Uh-huh. And probably bows and arrows and shields. And I've
Oh,
played
yeah.
FromSoft games before.
Oh, God, yeah. So we got the undead creatures, and we discovered that Lucia, Ruby's nemesis, was attempting to kill her. And Bug, unfortunately, was murdered by those undead assailants. And we start our episode at the New Benito hideout, Morning Bug. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was so, so upset. But you know what? Karma's got to do me dirty like that. Gotta take Bug from me. Okay, well, there is an inside joke that Karma and I have for season 1 because my favorite character he killed off in the second episode. He just looked really cute. It
Oof.
was like this little troll. It was like a little cute little guy, and I was just like, oh, Carmen. So
It's the
yeah.
John Wickism.
Mm-hmm.
You make him
Carmen.
love something so much that you're like, I want everyone to burn after this.
But he really marinated it now because this
Oh
was like,
man.
at least Nightingale Switchblade got off in episode 2. Now you gotta make me love Bug, and now he's gone. But Merrick also isn't looking too good. Ruby tries to rush everyone out, and Sid agrees because like there's limited time. As sad as it is, Sid goes on this whole tangent about going at a funeral, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Helvetica wants to meet at the manor to go together to Omnitech, so they're trying to rush everybody out, and Sid sends Gizmo because she's like, you know what? You can probably do that. So Gizmo goes to get Raven and Zigzag. Zigzag says her last words, and Bug has a amazing funeral, and then Half of the forces decide to go take out this Whisperer person, losing the backup of 10 Novas at Omnitech, but that's okay because everybody stocks up on weapons before leaving. And once they arrive, Zigzag just does the same girl boss move in episode 9, just heads right inside. And Raven does too. Zigzag is actually starting a live stream, and Ruby chastises Sid and Gizmo to stop looking at food and shrimp. And like I said, you know, gotta think about food, but you know, it's survival. So also this was such a brilliant idea. Like I love Erin's brilliant ideas, like coming up with this. She's like, my
So
stealth
good.
sucks. I'm gonna be a distraction and
So
use my
good.
rock star powers. And then with even with the whole, I think that was her idea to manipulate the whole holodisc, making it seem like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
Bit was
yeah.
killed. I'm like, oh my god, Erin, your ideas are just
I mean, that's when you know, someone is a pro at this. I
yeah.
was always kind of enamored. That was for me, that was a big lesson of like, oh, you can do like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of it, Erin, just by playing with Erin, I learned a lot of what you could do technically as a player.
Yeah, definitely. Erin is just the all wise, all knowing.
Oh yeah, it's so quick.
I think she played Cyberpunk before too, or like at least a version of it.
I think so. I think so. Either way, she adapts like crazy fast if she
That's like
hasn't. Yeah.
crazy. Heck yeah. Meanwhile, everybody is swarming Zigzag, wanting a photo and autograph. Raven's hyping everybody up. Sid, Gizmo, and Ruby are trying to snatch a key card while Zigzag is distracting everyone. And Gizmo and Charles do a little teamwork, manage to get a key card. And Raven and Zigzag are keeping everybody hyped up and they're like, bring your friends in, you know, let's start dancing. And the security guards all want to go to the concert. And they're like, all right, you know what, let's just ditch. We were all at lunch. And so they decide to go to the concert. They're actually walking towards the elevator that Ruby, Gizmo, and Sid are in.
Mm-hmm.
Sid manages to stealthily sneak by and avoid them and is with Charles, but Ruby and Gizmo get caught by security. And that's where we leave off.
Epic.
Another cliffhanger.
So
Carmen always got to
good.
bring the cliffhangers.
So good.
Oh, so good. Yeah, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Are Ruby and Gizmo going to get caught? I don't know. I hope they know some smooth talking or they have some shrimp to pull this off.
I
Cause
mean, you know, I like to think that shrimp brings us all together. So
you never know. All right. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on again and talking to us about Gizmo. And thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to watch next week's episode, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
later, y'all. Bye.